What's up? What's up? Welcome, everyone. If you're watching this, that means I was unsuccessful in my attempts to get to internet access. I'm traveling through Europe right now. I just got to Italy, if you're watching this. But before I explain a little bit more about that, this is the final stretch of the session of the Best Self Breakthrough Challenge, which means that this song is most appropriate. Listen to it. It's called The Final Countdown. You might recognize it. It's the final countdown. That's right. We're here in the last week of the Best Self Breakthrough Challenge. I love that. All right. I'm going to turn that off now. Awesome. Yeah. So if you're watching this, that means I was unsuccessful in getting to internet access. I appreciate you being flexible. I will make it up to you. I promise. And I'm going to talk about that later at the end of this session. Okay. But first, just want to, again, acknowledge you, congratulate you. If you're watching this, that means you are still in the Best Self Breakthrough Challenge. You have made a commitment to yourself. You are showing up for yourself. You're showing up for your team. You are growing momentum. You're installing your self-improvement operating system. You are becoming more self-disciplined. That's what this challenge is all about. So I want to acknowledge you for that once again. Congratulations. Keep up the good work. We are in the last week here. And now we're really putting the pedal down to be able to change some incredible things so that you leave this with massive wins in your life. Okay. So that's really what we are focusing on here. To kind of touch on where we're at, and this leaderboard is only active through Friday. Okay. I might have the ability to update it live if you're watching this on Monday, where there should be or could be some more scores corresponding. But, as of this recording, it is Friday and the scores appear to be like this as of right now. Okay. So just to quickly show you what we're working with here for the teams. So team transformations here at 9.714 points. Team breakthrough is in first place here. Let's see if my laptop will load this. Maybe I won't click through all of these, but team breakthrough is in the lead once it does load. There we go at 10.71, and team optimization is only 1 point behind. Team consistency discipline, you can check in to see how you guys are doing with your points, but you're not too far behind as well. Everyone needs to continue showing up for each other for this challenge to continue doing their very best. Okay, so I'm super proud of you. Let's go teams. All right, we've got a close race here at the top, but every single day counts, right? That is the goal of this challenge, is just to continue adding one more point to your tally for your team every single day over the course of these 21 days. All right. So that's what the leaderboard looks like. You can reference that from past emails. I may include it in a follow-up here as well. So that's the leaderboard. Keep up the good work. We've got a lot of people tracking for 100%. I would love to see the group of you that are there to make it. That would be awesome. And those of you who are kind of coming in and out of the challenge or have missed a day or two, keep it up. It is so hard to get yourself back on track. That is self-discipline, okay, is to be able to get back on track once you fall off, not just keeping your streak up. So congratulations to everyone that is a part of this, and to keep on earning points for you and your teams, okay? Now, as we talk about getting ready for this final week of the challenge, we need to update our scorecards. So we'll go through that same process as last week. We're going to walk through it again just so that you're super familiar with it, so that we can make sure that you are fully set up for this new week. Okay. So first, you should notice that there are different notes, right? If you're inserting different notes and everything, then you'll have those little flags all available. I'll show you how to get rid of all of those to make it all clean. But again, kind of review how you did as you're duplicating this new sheet, or at least before you do it, so that you can check in to see exactly how you're doing. And with that in mind, check in, all in. I know you're there. I know you're all in. I wish that I could be there in person and live in front of you to get all of your responses, but nonetheless, I appreciate you. Stay checked in, stay all in. Let's do this. Okay. Again, as a reminder, check out the percent of goal just to kind of see how you did against your intentions for the week. That gives you a little snapshot of how you did. If you have this, again, divided by 0 sign, that just means you didn't have a goal established, but that's just kind of the way that you can quickly check in to see how you are doing over the course of your tracking. All right. But again, the process to duplicating this sheet to create a new fresh sheet for this new week is you go to the most recent date of the most recent tab at the bottom of the sheet. So we have 2 of them now. Go to the most recent one, because the changes that you incorporated in this new one need to go into the next one. So if you've already created a week 3 tab for this, then duplicate this again, because if you made some changes, you want those to be reflected in the next version of your scorecard. Okay. So again, the process here is you right click it, and then you scroll up to this duplicate option. When you press that, it will load. another tab at the bottom that is identical to the one that you just had. Mine loaded just like that. Then what you do is you change this to today's Monday date. I'm talking about being in the future right now. 6/19 is the next Monday here. I like scrolling this over to the far left, but it gets a little slippery sometimes because as you create new sheets, you want to have the most recent ones available to you. And that's just kind of how they stack, whatever the functionality is. But then here's the important piece is to actually clear out your data again. So just as a reminder, what you can do is just highlight a full empty row. And the way I do that is I click here, I press shift and I click again. And then that highlights the whole block of rows. This little blue ball that you see in the bottom right-hand corner, you can drag it to go and cover all of the numbers that you wrote in over the course of the week. And notice it also covers up even the little flags that you have too, right? So that's the easiest way to delete the flags. If you just delete the cells, then the flags will stay. Okay, so go ahead, clean it up, and then you are ready to go with a fresh new tab here in the scorecard for a fresh new week of the Best Self Breakthrough Challenge. Okay, so pause, take your time, whatever you got to do to get this all set up before you move on to the next step. Check in, all in. We're all in, ready to go. Okay, cool. Sweet. So now let's move into the content of today's session. Again, pause if you need more time. So if this is the Best Self Breakthrough Challenge, and one of the big promises I'm making about this challenge is that you will become more self-disciplined, we need to define what self-discipline is. Usually this is where I ask you the question. So I'm just going to ask you to reflect on it versus put in the chat. What is your definition of self-discipline? Okay. Like when you think of self-discipline, what does that entail? And I get a number of responses that are across the board. And usually those responses are pretty spot on, but they only touch on independent parts of the definition. And that's where here, I actually want to coordinate and consolidate the definitions into one cohesive meaning that is probably understood once you see it all come together. Okay. So there's 4 different parts to the definition of self-discipline as I define it and as I've come to understand it, but your understanding could be different. And I would love to hear what that is if that's the case. Okay. So first, self-discipline is the habit of making the right choices. Okay. So notice that it's a habit, which means you do it by default unconsciously. The self-discipline itself. We're not talking about willpower. We're not talking about conscious will. We're talking about your self-discipline is the habit. But first, the habit of what? Of making the right choices, okay? Because that's within your control. The choices that you make when you are aware of them, when you are conscious of them, dictate the direction of your activity and the direction of your life, which leads us to the second part of the definition. It's the habit of making the right choices and taking the right actions, because that's a natural byproduct of your choices. Because when you're self-disciplined, it's what you do. It's the choice that you made. It's the action you followed through on. Okay. So that's the first 2 parts of this definition of self-discipline. But it's not just doing it once. It's doing it consistently, right? In order for it to really be a matter in practice of self-discipline, it needs to be done again and again and reliably with high frequency and consistency, right? You can't just do one thing one time and say, yeah, I'm self-disciplined. It's like, no, you had self-control maybe in a moment, but that doesn't make you disciplined. Discipline is a character trait. It's a quality. It's something that's more ingrained. And that's why it's a habit. It is subconscious. It's more identity-based within your nature rather than something that you just do one-off. Self-discipline is enduring. Okay. And speaking of enduring, the last part of this is despite circumstances. So even when you're tired, even when you're hungry, even when you don't feel like it, even when there's other things that you are trying to talk yourself into doing or talk yourself out of doing, whatever it is, despite circumstances, that is self-discipline. You don't make excuses. You don't have exceptions. You are consistent and take the right actions despite circumstances. Okay. So that is, as I define it, the definition of self-discipline. It incorporates all these different pieces to it. Check in, all in. All right. Good. So notice in that definition, self-discipline is not about willpower. We often conflate the idea of willpower and being able to have the self-control and to be able to will our way, effortfully push ourselves into making the right decision. Sometimes, yes, that's true, but that's not the only criteria for self-discipline. It is not exclusively willpower, okay? But what it is it's having power in the pivotal moments when your will is being put to the test. So sometimes you do use willpower in those moments when you feel like you need to show up, you need to get yourself to do something, whatever it might be. But there are other sources of power that you can pull from in order to then apply the energy, the effort, the focus, the whatever it is to be able to follow through on the thing that you know is best for you. That's like me, best self reflex. So let's talk about some of those other forces, some of those other sources of power. If it's not just willpower, what are those other things? Okay. Well, we've already touched on a few of them in this challenge. The first one is the life design and the infrastructure around you to support you in being your best self. So it's not just you relying on your effort and your focus and your willpower. You can also structure things around you to be able to support you making the right decision. The first is your environment, your physical environment in terms of making things easily accessible, but then also the energetic environment around you that is pushing you to be better, that is bringing your priorities, making them top of mind, right? Your environment is extremely the most influential part of your behavior because it is the way that your natural behavior flows is in the direction of your environment. Okay. So if you get your environment to flow the right way, then the natural byproduct is the consistent, high quality, effective action that you want to take, right? So we're talking about life design. This is the infrastructure around you. Your environment is certainly one of those things. Next is clarity, right? We talked about how important clarity is to be able to reduce any of the gray area or the subjectivity to a decision that you're making. When you have clarity, you can, and that's designed into your life. You have clear expectations, you have clear standards, you have clear goals, you have clear activities that you're doing, right? The clarity helps you to be more consistent. That is also designed into your life. And then accountability, right? Accountability times 3 to you 2 times, once in the moment, once at night in your scorecard, then to your team, then for the VIPs times 4 with me. Also grateful to be your accountability partner VIPs. Okay. So that's the first source of power. This is not willpower. This is the infrastructure, the design in your life that supports you in taking positive action. Okay. We're not talking about willpower. These are decisions that you can make in advance that help you to then make the right decision in the moment easier without willpower, right? That's the first source. The second one is the most powerful one. And we've been working so hard on this, and it is your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind in ways is an environment itself, but it's an environment that has this unending strength and power and force, right? If you think of kind of an iceberg, right? You talk about the tip of the iceberg, your mind, the tip of the iceberg is your conscious mind. And then the subconscious is everything that is under the water, right? There is so much to it, so much power, so much latent potential that you're probably unaware of that is just there ready to go. And the second you start to use that and get it working for you, you have this infinite source that you can tap into. And we are being intentional about activating your subconscious mind so that you don't need to rely on willpower. You can rely on this other form of power, which is the power of your identity and the nature of who you are because it lives in your subconscious mind, right? And the way that we're doing this in the challenge is we're intentionally cultivating the identity of I am self-disciplined. You are responding with that in your discipline on demand affirmations. You're clicking the "that's like me, I'm self-disciplined" button at the very end. The 2 pieces of evidence, the behaviors that you're taking to affirm and reinforce that identity are that you're filling out your scorecard every day and you're doing your discipline on demand. You're making sure that that identity is loud and clear. And then when you do it consistently, it gets louder and clearer, and it allows you to be able to truly tap into this identity in your subconscious mind as a force for good in your life and in your world. Okay. Check in. Who's with me? All in. You're all in. Right. Okay. So those are the 2 different alternative sources of power alongside willpower. And specifically on this subconscious mind piece, let's talk about how that's coming online, how that is coming on board, how that is supporting you, and the natural progression of its development through the process that you are working through in this challenge over the course of these 21 days, right? We're at 14 right now. So you can contextualize exactly what that means for you as we talk about this next point, okay? So this is the progression and the development of your identity over time. And first, just to kind of orient you on exactly what this graph is communicating to you. So notice that there's 2 axes, right? There's effort and time. So this is the perceived, or not even perceived, the actual amount of effort that is required for you to do a certain action, right? To behave in a certain way. And that amount of effort, or at least the source of that effort, changes over time. You see timestamps from day 0 to day 28, okay? Notice that on day 0 and day 28 and even day 14, all of these days, the total amount of effort required is the same. So the dark blue and the light blue, when you add them together, always add up to the same amount. The amount of total effort does not change over time. It is the source of the effort that changes over time. Notice slowly, the dark blue, the conscious will decreases and the subconscious identity increases, right? We're going to talk about why exactly that's the case in a second. We're going to walk through this slower, right? But that is the overall context of how our source of power, like our, not just willpower, our source of power, our source of effort changes over time. All right. So 2, like I said, walk through this more slowly. First, at day 0, right? So you remember day 0. This is when we had just got off our first call. It's like, okay, cool. There's this new thing going on and you're motivated, you're inspired, you're ready to take action, but you are relying entirely on conscious will, right? Your willpower, you are relying entirely on conscious will because it's a new habit. There's no previous subconscious priming to rely on. This is something you're building from the ground up. But fortunately, when you're getting started with something, this is when you do have the motivation to be able to fulfill on that expectation. So you can meet the demand of the conscious will here. But the problem is you don't have as much conscious will to only rely on willpower for forever, right? So we need to be able to facilitate this transition. So that's what you probably noticed when your alarm went off that first day, that first Monday, saying, wait, why is my alarm going off? Oh, that's right. I'm part of this challenge. I got to do my scorecard. I got to do my discipline on demand. That was a very interruptive, disruptive, different behavior. And it required complete conscious will for you to say, okay, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and I'm going to go and do this. But you were motivated. So you persevered and you did it, right? So that's day 0. That's where we started. It's entirely conscious will. Then we move on to like the messy middle of this. Okay. So day 7, day 14, is kind of like weeks 2 and 3. You'll notice that the conscious will, yes, is decreasing and your subconscious identity is starting to kick in a little bit. But your perceived effort in this is you still perceive the same amount of difficulty because there is more conscious will than subconscious identity. So you perceive that, oh man, I'm still using willpower to do this. This is still different. This is still novel. This is still interruptive and disruptive. There's still a lot of resistance to me doing this, right? This is actually when most people quit because self-sabotage is the loudest at this time. And you're in day 14 right now, right? So this is exactly what you're experiencing. It's not working. I don't want to. I'll make an excuse this time. It's not actually that important, or overthinking even of like oh man, well, if I'm not doing it right, or if I'm not going to continue on with this after the challenge, I shouldn't finish, or right, all of those things. That is self-sabotage trying to keep you from taking action. And the reason is because there's still so much conscious will with this willpower that's in place that you are executing right now. But if you stay consistent, notice that we are intentionally and slowly increasing the amount of subconscious identity that is the effort source to be able to follow through on the activity and behavior. Okay. So that's like the messy kind of part of this, but we need to get through it right now. You are in the weeds, you are in it. And this is when most people quit because of the conversation in their head that happens, because they still feel like, oh, it's not working, it's not getting better because it still feels hard and I don't know if it's even worth it. And just as long as you push through and you stick with it, you will be able to see the payoff at the end of this, which is day 21. Okay. Day 21 is when you reach this break-even point, when your conscious will is equal to your subconscious identity. And congratulations, because at this point, it has officially become a habit. All a habit is you executing a certain action or process unconsciously, because habits are literally ways for our minds to solve problems reliably without having to think about it. It's meant to just happen on autopilot, because imagine if we had to think through every single decision that we had to make throughout the day rather than rely on habits, we wouldn't have the cognitive bandwidth to be able to interpret all of that. Yet we have habits in place so that our subconscious identity can answer some things for us. And in doing so, we then get a little bit better at reserving our willpower for other things that are higher quality or more important, that take precedence. Okay. So that's what happens at day 21. You are officially in a habit. And that's the goal of this, is to get to 21 days so that it becomes this habit where you experience less resistance to doing the core behavior that you've now built an identity around. And that identity, again, cultivates through your consistent action, through your behavior. Remember the identity behavior feedback loop. That is the process. This is what's happening in your subconscious mind. Your neural wiring is strengthening and growing tighter so that this path becomes the path of least resistance just alongside what was previous, right? That is the process of how we're actually evolving this. All right. So that happens at day 21. You have a habit, but then the work is not done, because as time continues, day 28, day 45, day 241, day 300, whatever it is, the more you stay consistent and take positive action, continue on with the behaviors, the larger your subconscious identity is going to grow, because you continue stacking evidence of it being correct, of that being the truth of who you are. And with that strong evidence, then you just start operating from that energy and you start doing the things that used to require a bunch of willpower easily on autopilot by default, right? Now, come day 28 and beyond, this is the amount of actual conscious effort you need to apply. It's a fraction of what it originally was, yet you're getting the same result because now you're pulling from your subconscious identity as an energy source. Okay. So that's the process here. That's how we're cultivating self-discipline, is we're building the habit of believing I am self-disciplined, so that when you encounter that time when you need to make the healthy choice to go exercise, even when you don't feel like it, to stop scrolling on social media, to get back to work, whatever it might be, to flex your best self reflex. This is what I'm talking about. This is your best self reflex, is this unconscious predisposition to making the right choice and taking the right actions consistently despite circumstances. The definition of self-discipline. Okay. Check in. All in. Man, usually I have more time to like rest because there's more interaction, but I'm just going to muscle through this. Let's go. That's like me. Okay. One extra caveat here. And now we're talking about the first source of power. Remember, life design, environment, accountability, clarity, those things. Where does that come into this specific equation and graph to support in this transformation to the sustainable identity-based behavior? All right. And that is represented here. So we can actually lower the total amount of effort required by setting up our environment for success, by having clarity on what's required of us, by having accountability. We then lower the barrier to entry to take action so that there's less overall effort required. And in doing so, then it's easier to meet that threshold, to be able to follow through on the behavior. Okay. So you can be intentional with your life design to decrease, say, 25% of the total effort or perceived effort required of conscious will, like conscious will effort, the things that you feel like you're applying to the situation. You can apply that and reach the critical threshold you need to in order to take action. Okay. So that's kind of how that layers in as well, just to kind of round out the philosophy, how like, hey, it's not just about willpower. You being consistent and self-disciplined isn't just you always gritting it out and hustling and grinding and doing what you say you're going to do, even though you don't feel like it. Your true sustainable self-discipline is identity-based. It's in your subconscious mind. It's intentional in the environment and structures that you have around you to support you in taking action. So it doesn't need to be so hard. It's not supposed to be so hard. It is supposed to be a habit, but this habit needs to develop over time. And that's what this 21-day process is all meant to do, is to get you to this day 21 where you reach that break-even point and it becomes a habit. And then everything in your self-discipline flows from there so that you can transform your health, your productivity, your love, consistently taking action on the habits and routines that mean the most for you, enforcing the standards that uphold the person you want to be with integrity, right? That is what we're building toward your best life, so you can infuse everything you do with a sense of significance and purpose. Okay. So again, I'm going fast, but I love this. Cool. So that's where we're at. That's the graph. Hopefully that makes sense, right? It's just kind of this general progression from conscious will to more of a subconscious identity. We're only perceiving what's happening in our conscious will, and we can start to get easy, effortless results over time when our subconscious identity starts to kick in. And again, that is the process that we are intentionally cultivating and facilitating in this challenge. All right. So check in. All in. God, I can hear you from here. I can hear from Italy. All right, cool. So now, with that in mind, who's ready to get into the week 3 stuff? I told you it's going to ramp up. All right, so who is ready to level up? Check in, all in. Let me check the chats. Everybody blowing up the chat. Perfect. So who's ready to level up? You better say it, all in. Check in, all in. You're ready to level up. Okay, cool. So let's talk about what that actually means. And we're actually going to advance in the process here. I'm going to show you how. Okay. So we have invested and we're going to continue to invest in step 1, right? Discipline and awareness. Discipline, take action, your best self reflex, even when you don't feel like it, make the right decision consistently to take the right actions despite circumstances. Okay. Then there's the awareness piece, so that you reflect on your behavior. You became really top of mind with everything that's happening, really conscious of the decisions that you're making, reflecting, adjusting, understanding, empowering yourself, right, with that new information. So locking in that daily behavior tracking system in your self-improvement scorecard. So that is something that will never go away. It will always be your self-improvement operating system at the base of this self-improvement pyramid, should you continue on with this, which I highly encourage you to, because it will be easier after the course of 21 days, and it will continue serving you even more as we get more elaborate with the things that can actually go on your scorecard and the ways you can address positively improving your life through this philosophy. Okay. So we started with step one. Now, what does leveling up mean? Means we get into step two just a little bit, just to taste it. Okay. Because we don't want to move too fast. We want to do this sustainably, but we also want to make sure that we're leveraging and capitalizing on the momentum that we're cultivating. So 2 weeks is a good amount of momentum. Like, you've earned it. So let's elevate. Let's step up to the next spot here. And that's the intention here, is in step two, let's pursue growth in the right way. And the right way isn't to continue just kind of trying your best and throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks and trying to grow, but ultimately doing it in unsustainable ways. The way that I describe it is the best way to actually sustainably grow is to make your previous best your new normal. Okay. Your previous best is now your new normal. What that requires is that you raise your baseline so that when you make a mistake, act out of character, binge on social media, TV, or food, instead of going all the way back down to how it used to be and kind of the consequences of that and doing it to like the extreme, you have more temperance and control of, okay, yes, I lapsed, but I now have a higher floor. I have a new raised baseline so that even on my worst days, it's still better than it used to be. That's what we're working toward. That's a sustainable approach. So it's not about like stretching yourself so hard and throwing yourself outside your comfort zone. It's about systematically and sustainably raising your baseline of operating. Okay. That is sustainable growth. So that's what step two is all about. Best self, standards, high performance habits, life systems, infrastructure building to be able to support you in raising your baseline overall. So we're going to touch on each one of those three things. We're going to do one thing to be able to elevate each of those areas here in the last week of the challenge. Okay. Then we get into step three. This is the optimization side. You continue to grow, you get more effective, more efficient, introduce more feedback mechanisms to gain full clarity on exactly how things are working, what adjustments you need to make, et cetera. Right. So there's a whole kind of philosophy around this. If you're curious to understand what it is, we're really starting here in the Best Self Breakthrough Challenge at step one. We're going to kind of touch on step two today in the rest of this, but ultimately, if you want to take that next step, I have a program called the Best Life Blueprint that helps you to sustainably raise your baseline in your productivity, energy, and love, make you feel it and perform at your best. Just be able to really revolutionize the core areas of your life. And that is included in the Best Life community, which is something that I'm launching here in July. Actually, at the end of this challenge, I'm excited to share more about that next week. So make sure that you attend next week in the final session to be able to understand this opportunity to be able to elevate your life together in community in the most inspiring and powerful of ways. It's going to be super exciting. Okay. But that's our progression here. Step one, Best Self Breakthrough, touching a little bit on step two, but most of that is handled in the Best Life Blueprint, which is included in the Best Life community, which is step three, a continuous community of like-minded people who are dedicated to their self-growth, optimizing their lives, living their best life, challenging each other, holding each other accountable, and pulling the very best out of each other. Okay. So that's really the trajectory that we're on here. And I'm excited to share more about the Best Life Blueprint and the Best Life community in the next call, if you take an interest in continuing on with the momentum that we're capturing here in this challenge. If you felt like this helped you, all of that stuff is going to take things to the whole next level. Trust me. Check in. Who's all in on this process? Hopefully all of you. That's why you're here. Proud of you. Okay. So now, as we talk about raising our baseline, again, it happens at this level. It's within your productivity, your energy, and your love. Each of these are the fundamental pillars to your self-improvement. That's why they have their own sections on your scorecard. We're going to address each one of these right now to do something specific to raise your baseline in all of these areas. Because then guess what? We get to raise it again and again and again and again until you are at the very top of your pyramid, fulfilling your potential and living out your best life. Okay. So let me show you kind of what some of this stuff can actually do for you. First, raising your baseline, number one, productivity, right? So let's talk about that first pillar, which is productivity. What can we do to become more productive? Okay. And in the name of what we're doing with the scorecard, it's all about awareness. And one of the best ways to drive awareness is through triggers in your life, right? So we use the alarm as the trigger to be able to take action on the scorecard routine. And then we use habit stacking as the trigger to be able to do discipline on demand within the keystone habit, within your scorecard routine. But do you know what the best trigger is in your life? The one thing that if you want to do anything in your life, do you know what is the best trigger? This is where I usually have you put some hypotheses in the chat. So think about it. What is the number one best trigger in your life where literally this can help you to bring awareness to doing anything? Anything. I'm stalling here because I really want you to think about it. Okay. Cool. All right. It's your schedule. Your schedule is the number one trigger in your life because at any given moment, you can refer to it to then bring your awareness to, oh, that's right. This is what I intended to do. This is the activity. This is the focus point. This is the routine. This is how I want to prioritize and allocate my time. Your productivity is simply you doing the things you want to do. That should be reflected in your schedule. Your priorities are actually demonstrated by how you spend your time. Okay. So your schedule can become your, what I call is your trigger multiplier. Everything that's on your schedule serves as a trigger for you to then make a choice to hopefully use your best self reflex to say, that's right, I'm going to do this thing that I want to do. It's time to exercise. It's time to deep work. It's time to be present with family. It's time to get into my mindfulness routine. It's time to whatever it is, right? Your schedule can dictate your time and your behavior. All right. So your schedule is the trigger multiplier. It is the best trigger in your life. So let's make sure that you have a solid scheduling routine in place. And we're going to focus on that here. And should you advance into the best life blueprint in the work that we do together, like completely transform your relationship with your productivity and time, just absolutely take it to the next level. It is super transformational. Okay. So in order for us to understand why scheduling is important, we need to talk about distraction, right? It is the one thing that pulls us away from being productive, our distractions. And my friend, Nir Eyal, wrote a book all about this called Indistractable. And he had this fundamental concept that he teaches, which is essentially, you cannot know what a distraction is unless you know what you're being distracted from. Okay, I'm going to say that again. You do not know what a distraction is unless you know what you're being distracted from. In other words, in order to know a distraction, you have to identify traction. Distraction pulls you away from what you want to be doing, what you mean to be doing. That is traction. So traction is your fully productive, inflow, on task, fully focused version of you and the way you're spending your time. You do not know if scrolling on social media is a distraction unless you know otherwise what you're supposed to be doing. You don't know that watching TV is a distraction, or doing that extra errand, or procrastinating to do this other thing if that's a distraction, unless you know what you otherwise would want to be doing. So traction is a requirement for eliminating distraction. Okay. So that's what we need to focus on. Your schedule is traction. It communicates to you what is traction. So that's why this is so important. And that's why we're going to lock in this specific habit. So let's build your scheduling habit. This is something that you've already been tracking on your scorecard. Now let's take it to the next level, raising your baseline, right? So if you're doing it at a certain level or not doing it, now's your time to raise your baseline to improve the quality of the way that you do this. How? A time-boxed 30 by 30 minute plan for the day. You create a specific schedule where you have time boxes of every minute from when you wake up to when you go to sleep. You have an intention for how you're going to spend your time. And I know that that might seem daunting or impossible to do because the nature of your work is unpredictable and your life is too hard to, that just it's inconsistent, whatever it might be. I didn't say that you have to live it out perfectly. What I'm saying is that you need to have a plan so that you can then understand what things you intend to be doing, so that you can identify what distractions are and you can have more awareness about how to combat them when they come up. Okay. So my challenge to you, even if you feel resistant to it, if you're like, oh, this doesn't work for me, try it for a week. What is the harm in writing out a 30 by 30 minute plan for the day, time boxed for a week? The worst thing that could happen is that you don't do it anymore and you tried it. And now you know even better that it didn't work. But let me tell you, when you try it, you will realize, whoa, what have I been missing? This is incredible. I've never been more focused or productive or clear on what I'm meant to do. So all you can do is invest the time to see how it works for you. And I can almost promise you that it's going to help. Okay. So this scheduling habit, what specifically are we intended to figure out? We're going to run through a few different things to actually build out your scheduling habit. The first thing is the resource. that you're going to use to actually keep your schedule. Okay. Where will you keep your schedule? This could be sorry, I'm going too fast. So go ahead and actually write down your responses to these questions. So write it down on your laptop or computer, on a note somewhere. This is going to be helpful information for you as you then prepare to engage in this scheduling habit. Okay. So figure out the answer for yourself to these questions. And I'm going to answer them for myself as an example. And then you'll be able to kind of piece it all together and you'll have the infrastructure around this habit that you need, right? The clarity and the life design and the accountability because it's on scorecard. Okay. So first, resource. Where will you keep your schedule? So this can be in a Google Calendar phone app. This can be in a written journal. This could be on a tablet. This could be just on a piece of paper. Like, where is the physical place that you actually want to keep your 30 by 30 minute time boxed schedule? Okay. That is the first question to answer for yourself. For me, I keep it right here on my tablet. This is my Remarkable tablet. See, this is my schedule. Currently, I've got time right now to record session 3. So I am right on task. That's like me. Okay, cool. So I know anything else that comes up is potentially a distraction. Very good. Cool. So first, decide for yourself, where will you keep your schedule? What is the resource for your 30 by 30 minute time boxed schedule where you can literally write in 30 by 30 minute increments of, yep, from 12:30 to 1, I'm going to be doing this thing. And then from 1:30 to 2:30, it's going to take me an hour, but I'm going to only be doing this thing, right? And you get to fill in every single half hour of your day to make sure that you are at least having a plan for what you intend to do. Again, has my schedule ever gone according to this? What's on here? No, never, not once. Why? It's not supposed to. This is an intention that is set in a certain context. Then when it comes out to you living it out, that context has changed. The decisions that you need to make, the choices you need to make around how you spend your time are pertinent to the information of the moment and not complete by the information you had when you first established your habit or your schedule, right? So understanding that there is flexibility in this, but you have a stronger reference point as to how you want to spend your day because you have the schedule in place. And you can make sure that the things that need to get done are represented there so you can have easy access to them. You can view them. You can see how long they take and just be able to really have more intentionality in the way you're spending your time. Okay. Could have started with that lesson before getting into the actual exercise, but where will you keep your schedule? You should have that done by now. Cool. Step 2, timing. When will you do that? Does anyone have any guesses on when I would tell you to do your scheduling habit? This is when I ask in the chat. So go ahead and think about it. When would I, Brian Ford, who has created his Best Self Breakthrough Challenge, tell you to do this scheduling habit? Probably what's coming to mind is sometime at night. Yes. When specifically at night? The answer is during your scorecard routine. Habit stacked into your scorecard routine. So when you encounter that line that says, did I make a schedule for today? That will be your trigger to say, oh, now is my time to do it. You pause just like Discipline on Demand, and then you make your schedule at night for the next day. Okay. So that will become your trigger. I'm going to pull up the scorecard in a second, walk you through exactly what that's supposed to look like. Okay. So timing, when will you do this? At night, as part of your scorecard routine, habit stacked on your scorecard. Okay. So now the expectations are set. And this is how your scorecard, your keystone habit, is expanding, where your alarm, think about this, your alarm is triggering you to get into your scorecard. You go down a couple rows in your scorecard, you get into your scheduling habit trigger, you then do your schedule as part of your scorecard routine so that the trigger multiplier now has control of your entire day because you have a time box schedule as a result of it. So your alarm is now creating productivity for every single half hour by half hour increment of your day. That's how this is an operating system, right? See how that comes together? That's the point. Okay. So when will you do this? As part of your scorecard routine, which is essentially your operating system. Okay. Now, part number 3. So you know where you're going to be putting your schedule. You have the resource established. You know when you're going to be putting things on your schedule. Now it's time for what actually goes on your schedule. What is the content of your schedule? So what will actually go in those 30 by 30 minute increments? Here are a few recommendations that we're actually going to make accessible for you on your scorecard too. Okay. But just to run through them, here are some ideas. It's your exercise. Should you want to exercise in a day, make time for it. Your routines, morning and night routines. Carve out the time. How long does it take you? Anything else is a distraction, right? Work tasks, not just specifically a work block. Try it. Time box work tasks. It take me 30 minutes to go through my emails, an hour to do this project, 30 minutes to send that, or like for this phone call, whatever it is, right? Time box it. Okay. All of your work tasks. Then I got into that next part, meetings, calls, and appointments. So things that involve other people, that needs to go on your schedule as well. You're used to that for scheduling those things, right? So meetings, calls, and appointments. I mean, the fact that you would show up live to the Best Self Breakthrough Challenge session is because you have a schedule and you have an appointment or meeting or call that you got to take, right? So that goes on your schedule as well. Meals, make sure you don't neglect meals. Breaks, if you need them, schedule them in, right? It's okay. Just because you have a time box schedule doesn't mean you need to fit everything possibly can into it. Understand the natural flow and balance of your energy and what you're hoping to accomplish in a day so you don't overdo it, so it is sustainable. So breaks, 100%. If you feel like you need a break, then schedule the break, okay? Errands and chores on the personal side, personal and social time with friends and family. What's your number one goal? Make sure that that is getting done too, okay? So those are some of the things that we get to think about as part of this scheduling routine, okay? And as a reminder, when are we doing this scheduling routine? When we encounter this part of our scorecard that I create a schedule for the day, we're actually just going to change that to be able to provide a little extra intentionality and awareness of that to prompt us to remember exactly what we're hoping to accomplish with this new intention. This is elevating your baseline, raising your baseline in your productivity. Okay. So now let's implement this. So go ahead on your scorecard. Let's make some changes and make sure you're doing it in the new tab, the new date that's empty here, so that it's reflected in your week 3, this current week's scorecard, so that you make sure that your awareness is brought to it because it's in the right tab of your scorecard. All right. So just double check that you're in the 619 tab here on your scorecard, assuming that you duplicated it as an earlier part of the session. Okay. So now, again, what do? We work right here. So did I create a schedule for the day? Let's get more specific with this. Okay. So not did I create a schedule for the day? We're actually going to use this similar to the what is my number one goal for tomorrow, where we're going to say, did I create a schedule for tomorrow? But not just any kind of schedule. Did I create a 30 by 30 minute time box schedule for tomorrow? Okay. So did I create actually write this in to this prompt, 30 by 30 minute time boxed schedule for, and now since this is a habit stack, it corresponds with how you're going to spend your day tomorrow. Okay. Did I create a 30 by 30 minute time boxed schedule for tomorrow? That's what that should now read as in your scorecard. Okay. So go ahead, put that in, check in, all in. Once you're done, if you need to pause just to give yourself an extra moment to do that, I'm going to move on to the next piece here. Okay. Once you have done that, you've changed the label to, did I create a 30 by 30 minute time box schedule for tomorrow? How can we bring extra awareness to the new intention, which is, this is a habit stack. This is a time for me to pause and actually create this 30 by 30 minute schedule. It's going to take a couple minutes, right? So if you want to earn your point, you've got to make sure that you have the awareness in place to be able to follow through on the behavior as a habit stack. So what we can do is simply select this cell, go to the paint can up here and highlight it yellow. And when it's highlighted yellow, then as you're coming down today's date, down, boom, 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 boom. Oh, productivity. Whoa, wow, blinding. Why is that bright yellow? Oh, I put it there intentionally as a reminder that this is a habit stack. I am supposed to make my time box schedule right now for tomorrow. Okay. So we've solidified the habit stack of this by making it bright so that your attention is brought to it extra than it used to be. Right. So that it stands out. So again, you have awareness to then make the right decision, which is, oh, that's right. I committed to doing this as part of the challenge. That's like me. Let me pause, do it. And then once you complete your schedule, which you then write on the resource that you determined, right? You actually do your 30 by 30 minute time boxing. Then you give yourself the point, right? Once you've completed it. And then you move on to the next step, right? And you're familiar with what's my number one goal because we did that this last week. Okay. So that's that. One last piece. The content of it, right? What are we actually putting into our schedule? So those things that I listed, let's make those accessible here in your scorecard so that you can refer to them here and see them to say, oh, let me make sure I plan this and I plan that and I plan this and I plan that, so that you have a full picture of everything that you want to do in the day, instead of just like, oh, let me load up a bunch of work tasks, because that's what we think to schedule when we're talking about our schedule. But again, productivity is just doing what you want to be doing. It's not going through a to-do list. It's doing what you want to be doing. That involves your self-care and morning routine and exercise. It involves your meals. It involves your social and personal time. Yes, it involves work too, but it also involves your breaks, right? That's your productivity. It's doing what you want to be doing to be able to show up at your very best. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to select this cell and we're going to actually insert a note on the question here, on the prompt itself. So go right click, go to insert note. Then we're just going to bullet out some of the things. Actually, not even bullet out. Let's just list some of the things that you can consider putting in your schedule so that you have easy reference to them here. So some of the things we had: exercise, routines. I'm going to need to refer to everything that I wrote down. Meals, work tasks. We talked about breaks, talked about errands, social and personal time. All right, now let me just go and check that. Exercise, routine, work tasks, meetings, right? Meetings, calls, appointments, breaks, errands, chores. All right, so chores, number one goal. Perfect. All right, so then so I'm just adding into this. I had to just reference meetings and calls. And then I can't remember the last one, but well, let me just quickly check it. Okay, calls, appointments. Oh, and then yeah, personal, social time, errands and chores. We got that. And then it's the number one goal, right? So make sure that you have your number one goal scheduled, which then allows you to establish it right here. So it's perfect. Number one goal for tomorrow. Perfect. So that's what you're doing right now. And notice what happens here. Okay. So again, just to summarize, you're going through your Monday column. You get to this section. It's highlighted yellow. Why? Because it's a habit stack. Bring my attention to doing this behavior. Okay. So I'm supposed to time box 30 by 30 minutes every single moment from when I wake up to when I go to sleep. Oh, that's one more thing that you want to add up here is wake up time and sleep time, right? Which is kind of connected to your AM and PM routines. Okay. So just like this is the information that you get to consider scheduling in as part of your 30 by 30 minute time box schedule. So you get to this. Oh, what am I actually going to be scheduling in this? You click this, and then now this little flag comes up to say, yeah, these are some of the things to consider. Does that mean you need to get all of these things in your calendar? No, but you find the balance of what you want to do. How would your day ideally go with all of the commitments, responsibilities, needs that you have? Go ahead and create your 30 by 30 minute time box schedule. That includes your exercise, your routines, your meals, your work tasks, your breaks, your errands, your social and personal time, your meetings, your calls, your number one goal for tomorrow, your wake up time, your sleep time. Okay. Check in. See how we're elevating? I told you, like, this is where it ramps up. Okay. So this is just the first of the three that we're going to be implementing, right? One for productivity, one for energy, one for love. Okay. All right. Give yourself more time if you need to, but that's the task. Now, this week, as part of the challenge, you are accountable to, and this is part of your commitment of becoming your best self and breaking through to be able to elevate and raise your baseline in sustainable ways. Try 30 by 30 minute time boxing this week. 1 week. Okay. 1 week. And then you're going to do it for a week. You're going to do it for another week, because you're going to love it. You're going to realize that it multiplies the amount that you can do in a day. It's crazy. Okay. Cool. So that is that. Now, check in, all in, doing a lot of talking. Usually I have a little more breaks if I'm not recording this. I miss you guys. I wish I was there live. I apologize. I can't be if you're watching this. Okay. Next, energy. So how do we raise our baseline in energy? We're going to focus on another thing that is already on our scorecard, and let's lock it in. This is actually a focus point for a lot of you in the conversations I've had. Exercise. So let's plan your full week of exercise. So instead of it just being the sporadic approach of, oh, do I feel like it today? No, maybe. What am I going to do? Oh, I don't know. Well, that lack of clarity leads to inconsistency. So let's get clear of what activities you're going to do on what days. All right. So this is you elevating your exercise plan and your energy for the week, and sustainably should you be able to incorporate this on a consistent basis. Okay. So let's just see how it goes. Same thing. Let's try and see if this helps to actually have scheduling and advanced planning around how you're going to exercise, doing what things on what days. All right. So where does this go? On your scorecard, you already have a did I exercise today row that you've been reflecting on. Now let's add a little something extra to it. All right. So hopping back over to the scorecard, this is how we're going to raise your baseline within your energy. You can see the did I exercise today row here. What we're actually going to do is insert one more row above it, and we're going to have the plan on top of you fulfilling on your exercise or not. Okay. So the best way to do this is to click that number 10 or the row that corresponds with, or the number that corresponds with that row, right click it just like you were inserting a note, but this time you press insert one row above. That opens up some space. We want to keep this one extra layer here because that helps for you to be able to copy an empty row and drag it to be able to cover up all of the data when you have to duplicate your sheet. Okay. So I recommend having one empty row so that this would then come in the second row under the energy headline. Okay. Now, this isn't a question. This is your intention. This is your plan. Okay. So what you're going to write is my exercise plan for the week, colon. All right. Now what you get to decide right now is what days are you going to exercise so that you can actually establish a goal of how much you want to exercise. And not only that, but what specific activities are you going to do to exercise? Okay. So the way that works is here in this row, actually write into the cells up here. So on Monday, if you're watching this, and you already exercised, then great, you can put that in. If you didn't have plans to exercise, that's where it's kind of like a gray area. That's okay. It's not going to be perfect. Let's just do our best. All right. So put in your estimate for what you wanted to do on Monday, but then more importantly, let's plan Tuesday through Sunday. And let's actually figure out, oh, I want to exercise and do these things. So Tuesday, let's say you want to go for a run. Wednesday, off. You're not going to work out. Thursday, gym or whatever it is. It's whatever it is for you, right? Do you want to play a sport? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to go to the gym or go for a run? Are you going to take a class? Are you going to, whatever it is, go ahead and write in for you what that corresponds with. Then let's say this one, it's a body weight at home, Saturday, walk, Sunday, long run. Perfect. So now not only do I have an intention to exercise more, I have the specific days I'm going to do specific activities. All right. So go ahead and write in on your scorecard here in this new row that you created, my exercise plan for the week. What are you going to do? If you want to work out multiple times, great. Then say, I am going to go to the gym and walk. Right. So then that counts as that's your plan, is you're going to exercise twice, or you can do different things, whatever it might be. Okay. So that's the next step. Give yourself the clarity that you need to actually have a plan for your week's worth of exercise. All right. Now here is how it all comes together, at least for these two parts. Remember one of the things that we wrote down in the time boxed schedule piece here, exercise, right? Scheduling your exercise. So when it comes time to you actually making your time box schedule for tomorrow, so for tonight, for Tuesday, for Wednesday, for Thursday, every single day, you can look at your plan for the week to say, oh, that's right. Let's say, so it's tonight, okay? Tonight you go in, you make your schedule. That's right. My plan is to go for a run tomorrow. Schedule that. How long is that going to take? The transportation to and from, if you need to drive or transport somewhere, or are you going to run from home, or whatever your workout is? What is the full requirement for you to actually fulfill on that? Get that in your schedule. Then same thing. You can use this as specific information to inform the time block that you need to put in for your exercise. Okay. So we're time boxing things that are important to us. We're setting an intention of this is the clear way that I want to exercise. We marry those two things to say, okay, on my schedule, I'm going to have that specific exercise. And your scorecard can help facilitate that clarity. Okay. So that is so that's the next step there. Then if you want to, to be able to update your goal. So this, I'm just going to count up, right? I'm giving myself a point for every workout. 1, 2, call a walk and a half. So that's 2.5, body weight at home, 3, walk. That's another half, 4, long run, give it 1.5. Cool. So now I set my goal for 5 here. So I give myself 1 or half a point or whatever I earned over the course of the week so that I can see how I did at the end to say, did I hit my exercise goal for the week? Did I follow my exercise plan? And guess what? Let's say on a gym and a walk day, or let's say this day, body weight at home day, give yourself a 0. You didn't do it. Insert note. Why? Because I had extra calls book overnight and I couldn't find the time. So it's not necessarily a failure that you don't do it, as long as you learn why, and then you can make adjustments moving forward to improve your performance in that area the next time. Okay. So that's how this is all coming together, so that you have this coordinated system that's helping you to have the awareness you need to be accountable to the goals that you're setting and the clarity around exactly what those are, so that you can become the best version of yourself. This is your best self breakthrough challenge. Yes, it's a challenge and you're doing great. Check in. All in. Okay. Cool. Just going to delete that, whatever. Perfect. Cool. So that's how we're raising your baseline within your energy, a specific exercise plan for this week, different than you may have had before. If not, if you're already kind of like in the flow of this, if this isn't something that is new to you or benefits you, same thing with the scheduling. If you're already kind of like really good with your scheduling, then that's why we're doing 3 things here. And if you take it upon yourself to elevate what you're doing for a week to see how that goes, then try it, right? So maybe if you're already exercising every day, what would be a second workout that would help you to elevate? Or what would be a longer, more difficult workout? Or if you're already in the right balance, but you don't need to do anything about it, but just consider how you can raise your baseline should you want to, within your energy, within your scheduling. And then next is we'll get to in your love. Okay. So just kind of keep that in mind as we're going through this. Okay. Now, last, let's get, yeah, that's right. Here's a reminder. Make sure it gets in your time box schedule. So I talked about that, right? So thank you, Brian, for reminding me to make sure I touched on that point. So because you have that plan established, make sure it gets in your time box schedule. That's how it gets done, because your schedule is your trigger multiplier. They are scheduled to communicate to you. That's right. My intention was to work out at this time. If I have this work fire that comes up, someone calls me, something else happened, you get to make a decision. What is actually priority? What is actually traction? You make that decision in the moment, but at least you can use your schedule as a reference point to say, well, this is what I thought was going to be traction. So this new thing that came up, how much of a priority is it really? And then you get to make that decision. Okay. All right. Now let's get into love, raising your baseline in love. All right. So this is related to your relationship with other people. So the one thing that you're going to do intentionally is to send a message to one person that you are grateful for them. Okay. And then this is a hybrid. This is where you get to kind of figure out how to incorporate this in your day. Do you want to add it to your morning routine? Do you want to use the scorecard as a habit stack to do it right then and there? Are you going to try and remember to do it throughout the day and just reflect on if you did it or not? Right. But gratitude is the number one thing that will change your life. If you want to have a more positive outlook on life, reflect on 3 things that you're grateful for every day. In 30 days, you will see things differently. It is crazy. And it is the identity behavior feedback loop, right? Because your behavior is to think a certain way over and over and over and over again until your identity transforms to say, oh, this must be the way that I see things, because that's the evidence that I'm getting, right? So your attitude of gratitude helps you to actually have a more positive outlook, and it's rooted in the identity behavior feedback loop that you're now well versed in. So just wanted to call that out also. Okay. So now when it comes to this specific habit, okay, which is sending a message to one person that you're grateful for them, letting the people know that you care about them, that you're thinking of them, that you appreciate the investments that they've made in you or the things that they've done for you to support you, it will make their day. I promise you, it will make their day to hear from you, to know that they left an impression on you, that your acknowledgement of them is an appreciation of them. There's just so much to it. Appreciation. This is a self-improvement daily tip from the past. Appreciation is, yes, to be thankful for or to appreciate, but also from a financial term, it's to actually improve the quality or value of something. So when you say thank you to someone, when you say you're grateful for someone, when you appreciate them, you're actually adding value to them. You are making them better. They are growing. They are increasing in quality because you've done that. So give someone that gift every single day. We're going to start with this in this challenge, but also that appreciation then mirrors and reflects back onto you, and you feel better. You are elevated. You are improved. You are higher quality. You are more valuable because of the way that you are creating energy through gratitude. Okay. So what does this look like? Well, this is where I teach you how to use the scorecard so that you can start adding things specific to you. That's not an invitation to do that quite yet. Let's lock this in and focus on these core activities to raise your baseline. But beyond this challenge and in the work that we could do together in the Best Self, in the Best Life community, is to be able to add more things to your scorecard, to be able to elevate other areas of your life, and to be able to use this tool, this Keystone Habit, this operating system to support you in other ways. All right. And the reason I'm saying all of this is here at the bottom, you maybe have noticed, I can't remember if I mentioned it, but we've got these two different rows, copy for sum tracking and copy for average tracking. So these are the templates that you can use to be able to add new things to your scorecard and have the formulas work so that you can actually calculate your points and your goal and your percentage of goal and everything correctly. The difference is copy for sum tracking. If you add, or if you have a bunch of different responses, it adds up the sum of them. That's why it's sum tracking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it adds up 5. Whereas here, copy for average tracking, if it's a 1 for all of those, now it gives you the average of all of the different inputs. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, average is 1, right? So that's the difference in terms of how you can use those two formulas to be able to meet certain goals or get a certain awareness around your performance on certain things. Okay. So I'm just going to delete that because I was showing it to you. Now, what we're going to do is track, did you successfully every single day reach out to someone telling them that you're grateful for them, right? That is the new way to elevate your love, to raise your baseline in the way that you are showing up in your relationships. All right. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to track that for some. Our goal is to do it once a day. So the goal is going to be 7. The way that we actually use this template is you click the number next to it on the far left column here, number 28 in this case. You go ahead, you click that, and you copy it. So it actually copies the whole row across. That's what happens when you click the number. Then what we're going to do is the same thing, is create a little amount of buffer space so that we don't have anything jumping into the love headline, right? So it's, again, you click this, you right click, say insert one row above, which will create a row on your spreadsheet to add something new, which is going to be the template, okay? So the way to add this template is you click the number corresponding with that new row and you just paste it on top, okay? Copy for sum tracking. Now it has the formulas in the right place here. And now you just update the prompt here. So you ask yourself a question to acknowledge if you completed the behavior. Did I tell someone I am grateful for them today? Question mark. Okay. Now your goal is to get a 1 in here every single day. And if you can't remember a time when you intentionally told someone that you're grateful for them, that you paused, went out of your way to send them a text message, a video, a phone call, in person, whatever it is, to say, I am grateful for you because, then you give yourself a point when you do that. If you don't, then you have a decision to make. You can give yourself a 0 and move on, or you can pause right then and there, send a note of gratitude, use it as a habit stack, and then instead of putting a 0, you put a 1 and you accomplish it for the day, and then you get to move on, okay? So it's your choice. If you incorporated it in your day previously, you gave yourself a point. If you didn't, then you use this as a point of awareness and a reminder to say, oh, that's right, I want to do this. This is part of the challenge. I know it's going to change my life. I know people are going to appreciate it. It's going to add value and quality. So I'm going to do it right now, okay? So that is the addition to you raising your baseline. So you can tell the important people in your life that you're grateful for them more often, which will improve the quality of your relationships and their well-being and your well-being as you do it. Okay. So that's how you're systematically elevating your baseline within your love for the next week and hopefully beyond. Okay. Check in. It's a lot. All in, but we're doing it. Okay. I told you this week 3 is when things ramp up. And fortunately, you have 2 weeks of experience and history and subconscious priming behind you to make this a little easier so that you can step into this third week, use that best self reflex, the little bit of it that you have, but also the motivation you have to finish this challenge, to show up for your team, to do your very best, and to complete this commitment that you made, and to be able to follow through on these new behaviors that are high leverage, elevated, raised baselines to support you in becoming the best version of yourself and working your way up the self-improvement pyramid. Okay. So if you have any questions about any of these new improvements or changes to your scorecard or the intention around them, it's all available in the replay for this. Okay. So just go ahead, make sure you got it locked in so that you have a plan for tonight to do what you need to do to summarize. Okay. We're going to summarize it again in a second. We started here. Productivity, raised your baseline. Why? This is your trigger multiplier. Your scheduling is your trigger multiplier. So what we're going to do now to raise our baseline in our productivity, not just reflect on, did I have a schedule for today? Use it as a habit stack. Intentionally create a 30 by 30 minute time box schedule for tomorrow, meaning 30-minute increments written on the resource that you established to say the things that you want to do throughout the day as a reference point. What are those things? You can click the little highlighted cell that you already highlighted as a representation of your habit stack to say exercise, routines, meals, work tasks, breaks, errands, social time, meetings, calls, number one goal, wake up time, sleep time, all those things should and can be on your scorecard so that you can then fill up your day 30 by 30 minutes at a time to be as intentional with your time and productive by the real definition of doing what you want to be doing rather than just knocking off to-do lists. Okay. So that's the first thing that we did. Raised your baseline in your productivity. Second thing, raising your baseline in your energy. How? Having a specific exercise plan. You added an extra row up here. My exercise plan for the week is, you wrote it out. I'm going to add Monday. Let's just say today was off. Okay. So you can even add your plan for Monday too. Don't skip it. If you had a plan for today, then do it. Or if you have a plan for the rest of today, now you can follow through on it. Okay. So you wrote out your plan for the day and for the full week within your exercise, not just the days, but also what specifically you intend to do so that you have the balance or the variety should you want it in your exercise plan. Okay. Now you're going to be accountable to this yourself. Give yourself a point when you complete it. Adjust your goal so that it represents all of the actions that, or all of the exercise sessions that you have lined up. And as a reminder, make sure it gets in your time box schedule. So when you're scheduling for Thursday, you can check to see, what do I want to be doing for my exercise plan on Thursday? A gym and a walk. Okay. That's 2 different sessions. Gym's going to take an hour. Walks can take 30 minutes. Let me make sure that those are in my calendar, right? Time box, 30 by 30 minute schedule. Cool. So that's the second thing we did. Raised your energetic baseline by getting more consistent and clear on your exercise. Last, raising your love baseline, your relationship with people, the way that you relate with people, the way that you show up energetically for people. Did I tell someone I'm grateful for them today? You added this extra row. You copied the template from down here, pasted on top, adjusted the prompt to ask yourself a question to reflect on it. Then if you did, you give yourself a point. If you didn't, you make a choice. If you want to reach out to people right then and there at night, send them a text, give them a call. If it's a partner, if you're at home with them, tell them you love them, tell them you appreciate them, tell them that you are grateful for them, because once you've done that, give yourself a point, move on to the final prompt in the scorecard. Okay. So that is a quick little summary of how we're raising your baseline and elevating your life intentionally and sustainably. Okay. So the summary of the session, you just looked at it in the scorecard. Here's a little touch on it. Self-discipline, the real definition is it's the habit of making the right choices and taking the right actions consistently despite circumstances. It is your best self reflex unconsciously because it is a habit, right? Continue building that through discipline on demand, through following out your scorecard. You are stacking evidence to suggest that you are self-disciplined, because at the end of each instance when you do it, you are confirming that, yes, that's like me, I'm self-disciplined. It is becoming identity-based, which is what's required for you to fulfill and implementing this subconscious identity, which will then support you in this graph over time. You can continue to stay consistent with the right behaviors to build that identity and the force and source of power of that identity. You will no longer require the same amount of willpower or effort or hustle or grind or grit to get things done. Things get easier, things get automated, things get on autopilot by default. You start performing better until it feels so easy compared to how it used to be that you're just extremely effective and efficient, right? So this is how that relationship shifts over time between your conscious will and your subconscious identity. Now you are using your schedule as your trigger multiplier. We've talked about that. You have a fitness plan to raise your baseline in your energy. You are sharing gratitude for people in your life. You are communicating with them and letting them know as part of this challenge. Okay. Now, we've been talking about the bonus session. So this is where I said I was going to make it up to you for not being there live, assuming that I don't make it with my flight. The bonus session. So first, all of you guys are on track, and I know it's not quite there yet, but based on the performance and the consistency that we have in the group, it looks like each team should easily reach the threshold of this bonus session, which is the 14 average points for each team. Okay. So it looks like each team is actually tracking for that. So keep it up. Congratulations. Where I'm going to make it up to you is, should you reach that threshold, which I think you all will, I'm going to tell you what's in this bonus session. I'm adding an extra piece to it. So first, what I always do and what I'm going to do is show you my self-improvement scorecard. So over 10 years, what I've been able to add and optimize my own reflection routines to, so that you can see exactly what's possible when you incorporate this operating system as your default way of improving anything about your life, and what it can evolve into and expand into in the areas of your life that you can address, and how consistent you can be in key areas. And it will open your mind to, oh, this is what I've been missing. And that's why we've invested in building this operating system, because it becomes the foundation, the tool, the thing that you can use to improve anything. And I'm going to show you how that's the case, because I'm going to use myself as an example of how it's changed my life in extremely incredible ways, just undeniably impactful ways. Okay. So that's the first part of the session. Now, the second part, what I'm adding on to make it up for you, if I don't attend this live, if I don't make it because of my flight, because I'm on my way to Pisa, Italy right now, if you're watching this, what I'm going to add is actually, I'm going to show you my, it's called Everyday Productivity Engine. So this is the first thing that I help people to install in the Best Life Blueprint, which is step 2 of raising your baseline, and specifically raising your productivity to elite levels, where, you know, through a program, the Best Life Blueprint, I help you to install this everyday productivity engine. I'm going to show you mine so that you see, oh, okay, I get exactly how this works, how you can have extreme clarity on your tasks and urgencies in the way that your day can be structured, and how your scheduling routines can improve based on having the organization of a coordinated productivity system. So I'm going to show you that in addition to my scorecard, as a apology, and also as a just a thank you for being flexible and accommodating for me not attending this one live. Okay. So that bonus session is happening Wednesday, 6/28. I'll send out a calendar invite here for you to be able to attend that, so that it can get in your calendar and you can prioritize it. I highly, highly, highly encourage you to finish this challenge first and foremost. Okay. Actually, let me just flip over here. Cool. All right. Highly encourage you to finish this challenge. A lot of people get to the very end. They're like, oh, I'm almost done. And then they don't see it through. They don't wrap it up to the very end. And that is self-sabotage. That is you refusing to complete the transformation. So please show up to the very end for your team also, because in the final session next Monday, I am going to run through and acknowledge the teams that won, and also every single person and their participation in this. So I'm going to be acknowledging you when you complete this and finish this challenge. I'm going to be acknowledging you in that call, and I want you to be there for it. Okay. So if you can attend live, please attend live. I'm also going to tell you what's around the corner in terms of, now that we have this self-improvement operating system in place, how can you maximize its usage? So it's not only just in like the core programs that I have to offer in the community that's coming about, but the philosophy around the right ways to approach your self-growth so that it is sustainable. You are set up for success. You're not straining yourself in ways that are going to actually do more harm than good. You avoid the pitfalls of where people are usually at, which causes them to just go back to how things used to be, because when they're out of the environment and they're out of the energy of it, then a lot of people regress back to the previous baseline and wonder why their life didn't change again, right? So I'm going to help you to avoid that and to persevere and to be able to maximize and capitalize on the momentum that you're building here in the challenge 14 days in, and then beyond into 21 days and past that. Okay. So I highly encourage that you attend this final session live. It is an incredibly important part to cap off the entire challenge. And also, I highly recommend that you attend the bonus session, should you guys unlock it, which looks like you will, attend that live as well. I don't know that I'm going to record it yet because it has a lot of personal information. I usually get requests to, and I usually accommodate it, but I can't guarantee it just because there's personal information in it, and I just want to kind of protect that. So anyway, highly encourage you to attend the last session and the bonus session. You're going to have the calendar invite coming out for that bonus session. Whew, a lot of information. Check in. We're all in. We are here. It's the final countdown. Let me get the music pumping again. Let's go. All right. So go ahead and make the most of this last week. You have the task in front of you, the new additions to your scorecard, the new routines, the new habits, the ways you're raising your baseline in the key areas of your life. Show up for it, make the most of it, give it a try, go courageously, ask for help if you need it. I am here for you, even though I'm a world away from where I'm usually am. I'm still here for you to support you, cheering you on. And I look forward to seeing you live in the final session next Monday for the Best Self Breakthrough Challenge. All right. So much love. Appreciate you. Let's rock out. It's the final countdown. All right. Appreciate you all. See you in your scorecard. See you in the next session. Be well. We'll talk soon. Keep up the good work. Thanks.